but you won't even try to survive. You would rather keep it all inside, and I can help you decide who you're loving now, and how I'm not quite there somehow. My intuition says to give you up, but my heart can't easily let you go. I try to tell myself this isn't love, but I hate that I never really know if I should stay or be alone. If I should stay or be alone. If I should stay or be alone. I don't wanna be alone tonight. I'm just hoping that you'll be just right. And I hate that I never really know if I should stay or be alone.
Welcome everybody to Call of Duty Challengers Elite. It's time for week 2, day 1 here in Europe. My name's Infinity and I'm joined by IHOLDSHIFT for today's cast. Alan, it always feels great when you and I get to cast together on these streams. I'm so excited to be here with you.
It's not all that often we get a chance to do this, mostly
not.
because usually we split between North America and Europe. But yeah, we get a chance to do this today. Very excited about it. And then just beyond that, the fact that these matches all throughout today for a lot of these bottom teams are super, super crucial. That's the big key here because we have a 3-way tie at 1 and 3, and then Rejects who are at 0 and 4, which means every win is a must-have for all 4 of those teams throughout the rest of this group stage this week.
Yeah, absolutely is. This whole season, really, for Challengers Elite, the final stage of Challengers Elite, I know I keep on bringing that up whenever we're on broadcast here, but it does feel just insane to say that this is the last stage of Challengers Elite. This really is, I think, a story of 2 parts for teams here in Challengers Elite. We've kind of got the top 4 that are doing their own thing at the moment and fighting for the spots inside the top 2. But Rejects V2 and Belgium Power, 2 teams that are in the bottom 4 at the moment, fighting one another in what will be a very crucial matchup to survive relegation. Of course, you don't want to go out of this stage. You want a nice chunk of that $50,000 prize pool. Now, let's talk very specifically about Rejects V2 versus Belgium Power then coming into this matchup. As you say, both teams at the moment in dire straits. Rejects V2 0 and 4, Belgium Power at 1 and 3. But for you here in this matchup, kind of, who are you looking for to kind of light up for both of these 2 teams, Alan?
It's really difficult to say any particular player because we need to see some signs of life from both of them. First and foremost, though, I think the most important storyline is the fact that Disable is actually one of the only players making a debut to the Elite here in this stage. And he plays for Rejects, so I'll be excited to see what he has to offer. Saying what right behind that, also a player that I would say has largely been outside of the conversation as a major player in Europe, but finding his way into the Elite for the first time in a while, alongside Hockey and BB Connor. This Rejects team, I think they kind of make their name a staple of kind of how things have gone for them on the year. They keep getting kind of passed around between some of the top teams and not quite hanging. Where on the other side, we have been kind of absent from seeing players like Brezzy and Maple in the Elite for some time now. So it's kind of a reproving point for both of these teams. And I would say, I mean, it's hard for me not to say, it's unfortunate that they have not been able to provide that yet because collectively they're 1 and 7 as a collective 2 teams. So something needs to change, and hopefully they've been able to figure things out.
Well, the competition is fierce here in European Challengers, but it's just about to get fiercer between these 2 teams. I believe on map number 2, they'll be ready to get underway in just a moment between these 2 rosters. Now, map number 1 has already been played, between these 2 teams. Belgium Power came out on top of that one. I believe it's 250 to 201, if memory serves me correctly. So pretty close matchup between these 2 teams already. If that's how the rest of the series is going to go, Alan, I'm pretty happy.
Indeed, and it's going to be Express here for map number 2 for the Search and Destroy. And, just kind of speaking and putting like the last moment here on both of these squads. For the side of Belgium Power, they have gotten their 1 win versus GCPW. That's the only team in the bottom half of the standings that they've actually played so far. So they still have to go up against both, obviously, Rejects here. Then beyond that, they will be playing up against Team War, who's at 3 and 1. That's really the only kind of feasible approach that they have, whereas Rejects, they have to pretty much win out, and they still have to play teams like Elevate. So not exactly what you'd like to see for scheduling, but for First Blood, it will be Rejects on the A site with the 4v3.
I was going to say, Brezzy just in a power position there, sitting up top, inside control, able to get those first 2 kills, Linian from behind. And, well, what a situation that's flipped on its head here, Alan. As Rejects V2, they had some control over the A-bomb site. They didn't keep an eye on Brezzy, and now down to a 1 versus 3 is Disabled to kick off this Search and Destroy. Not a player that's incapable of this. Of course, kind of, this is his, first Challengers Elite season?
Yeah,
right, Alan?
This is his debut here, yeah.
So, in with a shot here, Disable of making a good impression. Needs to get that first kill against Brezzy, quite frankly. Not able to do it. So, Belgium Power going to come out strong on round number 1. Absolutely, Brezzy, who kicks the whole thing off.
Yeah, it's just he kind of lurks, honestly. I mean, he's there to try to watch the crossover through lockers. It was hard to say whether or not he actually got gifted that information or not, but nobody actually checks him up top. I think there were a couple of stuns that went this direction, but Brezzy just kind of avoided it. So he just lurks up top, has some great timing, waits for his teammates to take shots, and he's good to go. And so now we get to look to see what exactly Belgian Power want to do on their offense. And it looks like they will also kind of go over towards this A site, but Rejects will have 3 players here to defend. And it looks like they do want to get a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be essentially a 3-man stack, either in lockers or up towards maps.
Brezzy could be the playmaker here, in from behind. He's not going to find anybody just yet. If anything, he'll kind of be the long-term player in the backline for Belgian Power that could deal some serious damage to the Rejects V2 defense, but he needs to win that first gunfight. Good read coming in from Sayin, who turns around and picks him up. Now gunfight's going down over towards Control itself. Belgian Power haven't made much of progression over towards A. And Linny, well, I mean, he's in a dangerous position here, really, right, Alan? Because he's all on his lonesome.
And Hockey doesn't actually get the trade, so now he's going to be forced to essentially play his life 1v3. Does well to get one elimination. That'll make it a little bit more doable for Connor, who is on the backside of this play, going through the overpass. And to be fair, I don't think anyone's actually seen him. He was kind of dancing with the devil for a while, but he slipped behind this play. But once again, the aggressive read from Belgian Power, they're going to clear out the defensive spawn and then rotate for a plant back to B. This is going to put a lot of pressure on Connor, but if he actually gets a good read and goes up top, he might be able to actually see this bomb be planted.
You get the position. I think he knows what's going on here at the very least, so it's just about getting those shots in. And of course, whether or not Abuser's really seen him in this position, and well, there's our answer. Abuser absolutely has done. So now Connor doesn't really have that information on his side. Gonna try and take peeks and throw some shoulders to try and win this gunfight. The first two shots going against Abuser. He doesn't finish the gunfight. There he does this time around. Shots going in for Linny. Runs out of bullets, though. It's not to be. Belgian Power win the second round with a great read and rotation.
That's a hell of an attempt, though. I'm not going to lie. For a 1v2 with 10 bullets, he does a really nice job flushing the players out and then getting in a position to give himself the 1v1. Just couldn't quite get the pistol swap, and it would have still been an incredible double burst just to find the kill in the first place. But regardless, for Belgian Power and Rejects, that last round, a little bit of forward progression and aggression, for that matter, for both teams. So we'll see if that kind of comes to fruition again. This time for Rejects, they're going to take their chances over to B. 3-man hit, and it's just Linny who's here to try to defend.
Oh, the players coming now forward for Belgian Power, looking to win those gunfights. Linny's able to get one, but Trade coming straight in for Saiyan. So Rejects v2, they do have control over the B bomb site. The longer they take thinking about it, though, the more time they'll give Belgian Power to do moves like that, and that's going to be good for Brezzy. Picks up that kill against Disable. And now for Saiyan and Hawkeye, you find yourself in a 2 versus 3. Well, that's going to help from Hawkeye. That's going to help from Saiyan. Able to win their one-on-ones. They turn this 2 versus 3 into a 2 versus 1. Abuser now left on his lonesome. He picks up the kill against Saiyan, trying to cross towards the B site. And now a 1v1 between Abuser and Hawkeye.
Those were two of the most uncharacteristically amateur peaks that I've ever seen from both Disable and from Brezzy. They're kind of back and back, just taking wide peaks when you've got an advantage. But Abuza slipped through this. The bomb is collected by Hawkeye, and the timing could be great if he looks over towards the mid-map, which it seems like he wants to, but he's just a touch late. Abuza has slipped over towards the overpass.
Oh, and they're going to run into each other. Hawkeye hits the shots in, doesn't finish the gunfight, though. Abuser wins the 1v1, and Belgian Power by the skin of their teeth, able to win round number 3 here, Alan. Oh, man. What a gunfight for Abuser.
I can't believe he double shells that.
It's Abuser, man. He has some serious goal. He is his aggression this season, right? For a player that I would describe this really as Abuser's debut season, he has made a hell of an impression, right?
I wouldn't call this a debut season.
Well,
I would say, his actual debut season was an impressive one nonetheless. Are you talking about like the year in total, or are you talking about the stage? Because I thought he played really well with Los Pepes.
Yeah. The year in total.
Yes, year in total for sure. 100% agree. And, well, we obviously give him a lot of gas, and he does not provide the fuel as he gets doubled up by Hawkeye. The trade will be there, though.
Oh, dear. It always happens, doesn't it? Caster's Curse in its finest form as Abuser will end up falling. Maple and Linny now in a 2 versus 3. Good news, they've got the bomb in hand. And, Linny almost gets away with that gunfight versus Saiyan. And now really it's up to Maple to try and make a move out of this one. He actually gets that first kill against Disable. And now look at this from Belgian Power. Rotation coming through from Linny.
Yeah, I love this. I don't know how much Linny has actually been able to see as far as through the middle of the map, like the halfway point, I should say, like on the defensive side, but he's cleared out the train tracks, which is great news. And this is something we've seen from Belgian Power a couple of different times. Brezzy was the culprit from before. Now it's Linny all the way around the back, and he might be able to find some good timing here.
And from behind, Linny, can he get it done? Yes, he does. The first kill against Connor, and now Saiyan stuck between the 2 players. This bomb needs to go somewhere, though, for Linny. And for Saiyan, I think at this point it's just, a 50-50 to try and guess where this bomb is going to go. Unfortunately for him, he guesses incorrectly. So
yeah,
where does Saiyan go from here?
That's a really good read, timing-wise. Okay, I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if there's no point of contact here because you're just watching the cross coming through. But for Belgium Power, it's just, again, aggression around the backside of the play. And even after this first double, we thought things were going to be good, but the trade still does come through, which is super important because it gives you some stationary setup areas to try to get over towards that A site, which actually does keep Rejects planted around A a little bit longer than they would have liked to, considering they got the opening 2 kills. And, well, I mean, beyond that, it's just been not an equal effort from all 4 players on the side of Rejects compared to those on Belgium Power. Disable's 0-4 has not really been a major player, at least in impact yet. This time things maybe going to change, but an opening stun check actually Rejects plays coming.
All of this is from Brezzy. How aggressive do you get? Well, there's the answer for Brezzy. Slides out, able to get one before falling. Now Abuser to try and get it done. And, well, we were gassing him up earlier. Abuser getting aggressive, maybe a little bit too much so, as Rejects, whether or not they realize it, now have control of the site.
There have been so many gunfights that have been taken today where it's like you get the 2-for-1 first blood plus you won lockers. Why are you channeling that again? You've put Rejects on the back foot. This has been so strange to see. And now it's a 2v2 that Rejects can actually pull back. And beyond that, they've got the A site because of the aggressive challenge from Abuza where he gets punished.
Not all is lost just yet. Belgium Power may be able to activate a pinch here if they do it correctly. But this bomb now going down. We'll put a timer on the plate. How quickly do Linny and Maple want to collapse on the bomb site? Maybe just try and get a read first on where Connor and Disable are going to go. A peek will do it, and there it is from Maple. Information gained now for both sides. Maple now knows where Connor is inside locker. Connor now knows where Maple is, and an extra peek as well. Even more information for the roster. You just got to try and outplay it now. And there's the first kill from Maple. Able to get it done. Disable, 1 versus 2. Gets the first kill, hops inside the train. He's not going to turn around for this play. Linny spots him out. There's the kill. Should have time to get this defuse. And Belgium Power able to win that 2 versus 2.
This has not been a great display of search and destroy. I hate to come off super critical, but there's another moment right there for Rejects where you've got information up top. You just have to throw shoulders and play the clock. All they had to do was kill off an extra 2 seconds. The fact that Connor wide peeks us, like that shoulder was a good initial information. Like, force them to come to you. You've got the clock on your side. And then at the very end, Disable, yeah, good for the first, but he needs to throw a shoulder, check the bomb, and then immediately turn around. It was just a little too apprehensive, and Belgium Power has been collecting on the mistakes from Rejects so far, including another 3 kills in a row, this time for Linny, who's 6-1. And now it's down to what can you do for Rejects, because it's a 4-man hit initially towards B, but for Belgium, they are going to full stack maps, trains, and lockers to get over to A.
Belgium Power looking for the 6-0 here in the search and destroy, and Brezzy about to get all the information in the world that he could possibly want against that kill against Connor for free. And now can he extrapolate the advantage? Of course he can. Brezzy picks up the kill against Disable. Things going from bad to worse for Rejects in this round. Now it's just Saiyan and Hawkeye left up in a 2 versus 4. What mystic plays can they pull off? Well, Saiyan in a 1 versus 4. Not all that much. That's a 6-0 for Belgium Power.
Look, I don't mean to overgeneralize because this is the first time that I've been able to capture both these teams here in this stage, but I think we're starting to see why both these teams are having a trouble winning series right now. The search and destroy has been not clean at all, and it's just one of those things that, you could say what you will about some of these squads being put together. First time that they've been able to play together in Elite. Maybe they've only been together for a couple of weeks. Sure, there's some conversations, but a lot of the mistakes we're seeing are over-aggressive solo challenges. I mean,
yeah,
I don't have enough fingers or toes to probably count how many times that I had the reaction of, what is this challenge? It's just not something you would expect, especially considering that Abuza in Stage 4 with Los Pepes looked so darn good. And then beyond that, Brezzy is a veteran player with pro experience dating almost 3 total years, if not more than that, from when he was kind of coming through the French scene in World War II and even before that. So there have been some really strange challenges going on, and fortunately for Belgium Power, they're able to convert those mistakes that were more largely on the side of Rejects to a 6-0 win, but they weren't absent of some flaws themselves, and this is a match that, of course, both teams will need to win, but going forward, you say that about every single match that they have to play.
Yeah.
So Belgium Power, even if they're up 2-0 in the series and are looking pretty good to close this one out, regardless of the result here, you still have to be able to polish up some of that search because you've got some very hefty opponents you still have to go through.
Yeah, for sure, right? And this is the thing, The way I see that search and destroy is, and maybe you'll disagree with me on this, that could very easily have been a 6-0 to Rejects v2 just because of the sheer amount of mistakes that we were seeing from both rosters. Like, it came down to 50-50s when a lot of the time it frankly shouldn't have done. So if this goes to a game 5, hey, I'll be very interested to see how that goes between these two teams. Although at the moment it might not go to a game 5 because the map set between these two teams looks pretty heavily in favor of Belgian Power. Maybe the hard point was close, but that search and destroy most certainly wasn't. We have raid control coming up next in this series. Alan, is this a 3-0 for Belgian Power?
It just comes down to, I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise to see that happen because Rejects have only won 3 total maps so far this stage, and a lot of their losses were 3-0s. I mean, they had one map 5 that they played and one map 4 versus Team War that they played, but their control, I don't think is at the same level as what you would come to expect from Belgian Power, just based off of the experience, veteranship, and just the overall familiarity of playing at this level. But I don't want to, short side anybody because we could possibly see a reverse comeback or reverse sweep come back into the play here, just simply due to the fact that we're not seeing particularly polished gameplay, at least off the initial search and destroy right there from Belgian Power, which again feels weird to say considering the scoreboard will show a 6-0, but there were mistakes kind of abound for both squads. So going into what is going to be a raid control, I'm just looking to see who's got the more well-coordinated team play coming through. It really could go either way, but the series is looking pretty positive for Belgian Power after their close hard point and then their convincing search and destroy by score.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are going to be going to raid control next up in this series, Rattle. And for you here, I mean, we've always kind of described this map as sort of, it's very SMG heavy, right? And obviously the AR still have a role to play here, but this is a map where your SMGs, they're going to be very important to the overall series or the overall map win for you. For Belgian Power here, I mean, that's not a bad position to be in, is it really? When you look at sort of the SMG prowess they have on the team, you've got Lily and Brezzy, right? Who can both run those SMG roles. And for me, honestly, I mean, you look at those players and I'd say that's super underrated. I know that the past hasn't been great in terms of where they're at, but overall, I'd say coming into this map, those are pretty good SMG players to have in the roster.
Yeah, the conversation between Brezzy and Abuza is actually an interesting one because Abuza isn't unfamiliar with an SMG either, and that's what's going to be the case. I'll say Brezzy was running the AR in that last search more often than he was running the sub, but it looks like there is going to be a little bit of a swap up as far as what the roster and the roles will kind of combine with, maybe even to the point where Maple's the only one running an AR right now, as we do have the first couple of opening kills going evenly traded. So 28 playing 28, and then beyond that, in a position right now where you just don't really have any control over anything at the moment, really from either team. Everything's still being contested.
Indeed it is for the moment. No progression on A, and I like this from Rejects too, really. They don't want to get too cozy on the A point for the moment. They just want to make sure that nobody from Belgian Power is getting control of B. Saying really important to this play, able to get that 1 kill inside money. Now it is just Maple left to deal with, and well, you might want to deal with him pretty quickly. If he gets this second kill on O'Connor, he could continue to cause havoc inside Square, inside lockers, and he will as well. That's kill number 3. Maple needs to be stopped. He will finally be stopped now on basketball, but damage done. I mean, Belgian Power, now they're getting control of A.
Oh, this is great. I was going to say, this is a really nice setup because you have Lenny who's actually lurking in jungle, so he's going to force the defensive spawns towards basketball, and if he could find a couple of kills, not only is A just completely chalked defensively here, but there would have been a really easy rotation for Belgian Power to slip through the back and get a look at B. But it's dealt with, quelled for the time being. Brezzy still playing through this position, and it looks like this is going to be where Belgian Power want to set themselves up for their B hit, as here comes Abuza trying to help out.
Sane should deal with Brezzy, the threat defined from basketball. No 3-pointer for you. Belgian Power now going to have to, I think, hit the reset button. Maybe not. Abuser, if he gets that second kill, the reset button would absolutely be, well, it'd be safe from Belgian Power hands for the moment. Now, luckily for Rejects v2, they still do have one player positioned up quite far up the map inside bedroom. That was Connor. He has now fallen to Belgian Power. Now have an opportunity here to get control. Sane in the mid-map needs to win this fight against Abuser, and he does. So Rejects still do have some form of control over this point. But I mean, Belgian Power, they're not too bothered by it. They're going to jump straight in here. Sane gets taken out from behind. And now it is just Linny on the point as Connor takes down Maple. Linny is actually going to get that fight. So Belgian Power here, all of this pressure is not being let down anytime soon.
Oh, no, this is great. I mean, if you just watch the conga line from spawn, whoever's the last one in the back is always picking up the pinch, which is where Rejects are trying to get this retake. Now it has to be from the front. It's going to be a 4v2 on site. Abuza finds one. Now it just comes down to who can touch.
Oh, Brezzy looking to get his way in here. It is literally just Connor in the backline. Connor can deal with him. This should be done and dusted. There is the kill. And there is Brezzy. Oh, it's a sliver away. It was a sliver of progression away. Rejects v2. They save it at the last second. Belgian Power not able to get it done on that push.
Yeah, and, you know, I just credited Belgian Power for continuing to pick up the pinch, but with the lives dwindling and the time also becoming very unfavorable for the defense, Belgian Power actually mistake themselves for putting too much attention towards the flank. They don't actually focus their weapons on the front. Allows a chance for Rejects to come into the play. So now it's an 8v6, still favoring Belgian Power, but realistically, you lose this first hit, you might not have a chance to actually put these lives together to actually amount to much of anything.
Time's running out here for you to do something here if you're Belgian Power, and of course, as you already pointed out, lives as well. And this is the push that could make all the difference here. Abuser and Brezzy coming through, but Abuser, what are you doing? He just runs out the window, not a care in the world. And I mean, now is definitely the time to at least care about something. Belgian Power here might have just let this one slip. Rejects v2, they have control. It doesn't look like Belgian Power are going to be able to get past the 25-yard line unless something special comes out here from Maple and Brezzy. Maple force Brezzy as well. And that is just a crazy round because you go back to the point at which Belgian Power, they were a sliver away. They were at the tiniest amount of progression away from capturing that point.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough ask, I would say, you know, multiple times for both squads. I mean, initially for Rejects, I was getting a little bit apprehensive about how much they were trying to hit this flank without getting any real established pressure from the front. There was also a moment where they just completely gave up top bedroom, which was a huge mistake. But on the other side, Belgian Power, once they use that and get onto the site itself, they have a really tough time locking things down. And, you know, maybe too much attention being provided to the flank then once they're actually on and they put the pressure in. So a couple of moments that, you know, it's just been really strange because the top level of challengers in both regions, I think you would expect them to have that communication down pat for both of these teams, kind of prove themselves and kind of get themselves familiar with one another. Those things have gone a bit awry. So first tick of progress going into this round favoring Reject, but the retake for Belgian Power is coming from multiple angles.
Indeed it is. Belgian Power looking to collapse, and they've managed to get Linny in from behind. He picks up 2. I have zero clue how he even got there, but I don't know why I bother asking questions anymore, as Rejects v2 now going to have to focus their efforts elsewhere. Not all is lost here, Alan. They did manage to get 2 ticks of progression on A, but you feel like they should have absolutely got that. Well, it doesn't really matter now. They're able to get their way over towards B, and the collapse should be coming on through. Connor ends up getting that first kill. Linny in from behind. He's going to have to back away for the moment. We'll actually take a fight versus Saiyan. And for Rejects v2, albeit they didn't get A, they now have a chance for B.
Yeah, the B push is actually looking really, really good. Abuza's not going to be able to get right behind into basketball, so he's got to come mid-map. Does find the kill into counter, so the retake actually could come through. Just comes down to the time to get the kills. And it looks like things will be polished up pretty nicely. So nice retake here from Belgian Power. They're going to be able to use this with a chance to actually continue to have some pressure mid-map. But like you mentioned, the success at A was marginal to begin with. But once you start spawning towards the driveway, they'll get an extra 60 seconds, no problem. The big question mark is, can you reduce these lives as you're currently down 3?
Well, we've seen crazier things happen, right? I mean, many teams here have never deployed the setup that Belgian Power are looking at right now and do it pretty successfully for 2 entire minutes. So it's not out of the question for Belgian Power to be able to do it here. Rejects v2 kind of need to find a way to punch a hole in the Belgian Power defense. First things first, get rid of Brezzy and Maple from this bedroom positioning. It is absolutely deadly when you have players here.
It's really, really difficult to deal with when you play it the correct way, which you feel like Belgian Power will absolutely do, and they have done that. A little bit aggressive there for Brezzy, but he's thinking maybe he could put some pressure on the kills, which are going to be maybe a win condition here for the defense. 18 playing up against 12 with still just about 60 seconds to play, but they have lost most of this control top bedroom. So if Rejects can come through this and actually find a couple of good trades, they'll be right back onto the B site.
I was going to say, a beat in from behind there. Absolutely key, but Linny with 2. He explodes, and Belgian Power regain control. Linny looking for number 3. Actually going to come face to face with Connor. Decides to go in for a kiss, ends up slapping him down. And Belgian Power here, able to regain control of bedroom for the moment. Oh, that was a close one. Rejects v2 almost found their way out the spawn trap. It's not over yet for Belgian Power, but you look at the life disparity here, Shift. It's not looking great.
No, it's not. Someone's going to have to absolutely have a massive play. And I'm looking at Disable to possibly be that guy. I was initially thinking mid-map, he could actually try to clear some space out in kitchen, and then the lives wouldn't matter. You just hold that position in the middle of the map, and you try to get your teammates on for a stack, and maybe you win because you still have a tick and a third of progression. But it looks like that is going to be a pretty moot point. Maple's just going to lock things down. 13 playing up against 2, and Belgian Power will respond with a defense of their own.
Stranger Things? Is this the time where we talk about Stranger Things that happen? I don't think so.
No,
Not at this
season
point.
4 is still on
Connor
the
and
way.
Disable, they're not getting past the 10-yard line at this point. They've decided to sit back in the base. Hey, we don't know if Belgian Power have got streaks at that point. And that's the right call, I think, at that point in time. You don't want to be unnecessarily... It's this play from Linny, though, right? It just explodes.
And it's the one that actually swings the entire round away. Right before this happens, I was talking about the simple fact that if Belgium Power loses position top bedroom and Rejects can follow up with a trade or two, they're on the B zone. But the player that was first in front was that play right there from Linny, where he's in a great spot to just shut things down himself, going off for 4 in a row, and that stalls Rejects from actually getting outside of bedroom over towards the point itself. So yeah, really clutch moment there from Linny, not just because he gets a handful of kills, but he was one of the last defenders left to try to hold off the Rejects, and now we go on board with Rezi, who's going to have an opportunity to get over towards A, but that's all for bait. Everything was actually a design over towards B, and with the trade, 2 players of Belgian Power will start making progress.
Belgian Power now in for a chance here to capture this point. How good is Rejects retake, sorry. Connor and Disable, just Connor, I should say, able to win 2 one-on-ones over towards Basketball, effectively clearing the point. I mean, Brezzy and Linny still want a slice of the action over here, but I mean, realistically speaking, how much damage is Linny actually going to be able to do? I don't know, actually. He does try for it. Unfortunately, he does get taken down, and Rejects V2 will finally clear all the pressure from B. But Belgian Power, of course, I mean, in this position, pretty standard play coming in here from Belgian Power. Go straight towards capture an A.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty nice, but look at the play from Rejects around the back here. They have a chance to find some exit kills, and they actually look like they actually want to contest this. It's going to try to move forward, and Saiyan will make sure the progress stalls at 2 ticks, but I don't know. This is going to be hard for him to hold. Then the problem is when you commit that many numbers to Rejects, now you're going to be shorthanded on the defensive B.
Rejects might be able to clear this point actually easier than they, at least or Belgian Power think. I mean, they've got Connor in from behind, and well, you see that first kill coming on the map from Connor. Brezzy does deal with him. All right, so Belgian Power hit. Still have Brezzy forward, but I mean, all the pressure effectively has been alleviated. While that's gone on, though, A has gone. Brezzy with a nice slap down onto Disable to try and get something going. For Belgian Power here, though, job 1 is done. They've got control of A. Now it's positioning itself for B.
And look at the stack of Rejects, and I don't say that positively. Everyone's just stacked up in and around either Basketball or Tiki. They're going to have no idea where this play is coming from. They have no kitchen control. Off the spawn, Disable is going to try to alleviate that problem, but Abuza's already there. So if this is going to be successful for Rejects, they need to reclaim kitchen, and it looks like they finally have, which means that Belgian Power really need to be patient here and not get too overzealous.
Well, that's a nice kill from Saiyan. Comes through, he takes out Brezzy from Tiki. That's a power position. Belgian Power lost all their power in this situation. You'd have imagined they'd be able to exploit where Rejects V2 are positioned. Now that's no longer the case here. Saiyan now on a 4 spree. Rejects V2 starting to bring some kills together. But Abuser in from behind could still open up this play for Belgian Power. Just going to wait for his teammates to make the play happen through kitchen. Actually just going to go for reposition here, Shift. So Belgian Power want to attack this as a team. I really like this stack coming in from Belgian Power, but you got to do it now. You got to do it as a roster. And Abuser and Linny, they're actually going to come in here. So Brezzy and Linny, sorry, will actually survive that engagement as Belgian Power now looking to collapse onto the point.
But this is the problem. Brezzy waiting for the regen is actually not going to know how many players have slipped through, but Abuza from the front finds a double, not going to get the third. It's going to be a 1v1 for the point. In 26 seconds, this could determine the outcome of the entire round.
It could indeed. I mean, Disable's got to do something here. He is all on his lonesome for the moment. You'd imagine that Connor and Hawkey might have gone through kitchen to try and help out. They don't. And this becomes a one-dimensional defensive play from Rejects V2. They have to filter through Basketball. Are they able to get it done? Not when Linny's here. He picks up 2, looking for number 3. He's not able to get it done. Connor in from behind. Saiyan takes down players from open steps. And Rejects V2 will clear the point with 15 seconds left. Belgian Power down to their last 4 lives. Hawkey gets 1 inside kitchen. The trade is there for Disable, and Linny is the last player left alive. Gets taken down. Belgian Power, they tried it. They got denied.
Yeah, that's a really dicey final 60 seconds of the entirety of that round, simply due to the fact that, you know, Abuza was looking like he was going to open things up completely for Belgian Power, but the last standing members for Rejects in Basketball just barely hold off long enough. And I say Saiyan's name, he spawned out by Laundry, and instead of trying to reinforce through kitchen, he went through mid-map, which is interesting to say the least, but he did win a gunfight mid-map over through kitchen when actually kept the play more alive for Rejects on the retake. The questionable moment was when he was still sitting mid-map, not coming around the back, because he was essentially trusting that the 1v1 that would have determined the outcome of the round would go his teammates' way. He would have been way too late to find the trade, but fortunately, his teammates were right there to make sure that they did convert the kills, and now Rejects back on the offense. Will 3-man stack over towards B. First blood looks good for him.
Hawkeye picks up 2, though. Rejects now looking to get onto the point. Now it's about their forward positioning. We think about this one. Rejects V2 haven't sent anybody up the basketball steps. They want to just get control of it themselves. Connor's going to have a lot to do here and going to have to turn down all kinds of directions. He will get taken down, turning around for Brezzy, who does come down open steps, is dealt with. And there it is. Belgian Power able to clear point before that capture comes in. A very important play in the overall standing of things, because you do not want to lose B first.
Oh, not at all. I'll say this much as well. I know I've been coming off a little bit critical here on these two teams, but their initial approaches have actually been really good. It's the second step that gets a little bit shaky, and then the third step that typically showcases a bit of collapse. So, I mean, the development of trying to make sure you're fulfilling that long checklist of things that need to go right, I think is kind of the question mark for these guys. Is now you look at Rejects after 2 ticks of progress at B, they do just immediately swap back through the middle of the map and through driveway to reclaim this A zone, and that's going to be where they get their extra 60 seconds. But most importantly here, Brody, look at the life count. 23 playing up against 16. You've already got progress coming to the middle of the map, and that means for Belgian Power, you have to stop this, and you need to do it cleanly to make this life come back towards even.
Hawkeye and Disable want to go at this one. Hawkeye's able to pick that first kill up. Disable trying to get it done. Unfortunately, Hawkeye actually puts bullets into his heel, his teammate's heel, and Rejects will therefore fall off the back of it. Now, we've seen a situation not dissimilar to this a couple of rounds ago, where Belgian Power were on the defense and they're able to hold off versus Rejects for an entire minute and a half. They're going to have to do the same thing again, and this is a nice wave of kills to kick things off.
Yeah, they completely neutralized the life lead. I mean, that fight through Kitchen was absolutely everything. If Belgian Power lose those fights or even get them traded out, that's not going to be good enough. Rejects will still hold that position. Then all they need is 1 tick of progress at B. So that clean sweep that we just saw largely coming out of Maple on 4 in a row was absolutely a requirement if Belgian Power want to try to find a way to close out a 3-0 here and get to a round 5 in the first place. So now you've got positions forward into Rejects. You've got the live starting to dwindle away. 60 seconds on the clock. Everything's starting to look much more positive for the defense. But once again, Rejects with a couple of trades could find their way through Bedroom and onto B, where they only need that 1 tick of progress.
Bressy's coming in from behind for Belgian Power. So keep that to the back of your minds, guys, as he looks to try and upset this play for Rejects V2. They have 0 idea what it is. He can absolutely open this play up for the team, and he does! Bressy in from behind, gets the kills necessary. Will hold on to the point for the moment, and now Brezzy in a full position as Abuser gets 2 over towards the point. Rejects, they had the play in their hands. Brezzy snatches it out. And now there's just 20 seconds left in this round for Rejects to try and stop this here in round number 4.
Stan stuck through. He's mid-map number 6 at the moment, but he's not making the play forward. You just have to get over towards the point. Don't worry about this guy mid-map. He's lost his chance to get onto the zone freely and covertly, but now his chance to get through is going to be contested. If Saiyan tries to go kind of covertly through Kitchen right there, he's behind the entire play from Belgian Power, and there's a chance where Rejects could have maybe snuck that round away with a couple of key kills, but instead he takes the gunfight mid-map. Yeah, Buzas does eventually fall, but that Saiyan's position completely been made aware for Belgian Power, and they deal with it very nicely to send us to a 5th round. The big thing is, once more, we talked about Lenny in this similar position from round number 2. He had to go big to make sure that there was some pressure, not just on Rejects out of spawn, but that he can also try to neutralize the life count. So again, it's 2 defensive rounds in a row that Lenny's able to really just equalize the round and give his team a chance.
Well, round number 5 and what has been an incredibly tense control so far. Rejects need to win this one to try and stay alive in this series. A very important series in the overall standings as well, Shift. So Belgian Power, they could pull it off here and breathe a sigh of relief for the overall standings of things. Belgian Power going to start strong for the moment. Now they're going to get control of A.
This is looking pretty solid again for Belgian Power, trying to get some forward aggression, but the thing is they have to follow up for the trades. It's not going to make a difference if Booza does find the kill. So now a chance to not just get a first tick, but likely a second will be a guarantee. And I'm just really curious to see what Rejects are going to do here, because last time that we were in this position, they tried to play for a retake, and it really ended up costing them in the life count early, which they had to fight back. This time they're looking to zone and try to get some kills off spawn. It's really been Brezzy that they're trying to farm at the moment, but he's done well to fight his way out, and now for Rejects, it's just how long can you hold this zone to the B zone?
I will say, I'm pretty proud of Rejects for not overreaching here, because it's very easy for you to try and stop this capture and just fall apart and immediately give Belgian Power the opportunity to slide straight over towards B and make an easy capture off the back of that. So doesn't happen. Belgian Power now going to look to make their way in from behind. Brezzy was an important kill in the mid-map. Will actually get it against Saiyan. And now look at the positioning on the map. Belgian Power have filtered their way through. The kill feed is completely red. And despite the fact that Rejects do have a player inside bedroom that Brezzy is going to deal with, Disabled's got not a clue what's coming. Belgian Power here just keep filtering players in from behind Shift.
But this is where I mentioned where the first step has been looking good. It's how do you come together and make that second step unfold? Because right now you're looking for Abuza to zone, Brezzy to start stalling some time, but he's going to actually try to push forward and take control of basketball. They really want to push these spawns for Rejects as close to Laundry as possible, and they do find a double kill, a chance now to make some progress on the B zone where Rejects are going to have to wait, set up in kitchen for a retake.
Connor with that kill, absolutely huge. He just needs to keep on baiting out here and getting one more kill. I think would really do it for Connor. Just try and waste some time. And there it is. Connor wins that 1v1 against Linny. Abuser does take out Saiyan, so Abuser's still in a power position here. And as Brezzy takes down Disable over towards open steps also, Rejects here still not entirely in control of the point, and they have 0 where Abuser is. He picks up one, doesn't get that second kill, so Hawkeye will still stay alive. Rejects still with a grip over the point, and Belgian Power, despite making it close, unable to do it just yet. Rejects will not let go.
Yeah, and again, really good from Connor. He just sits top inside money window, never really over peaks, making sure that, okay, Belgian Power, you can put one guy on the zone, but that's not going to provide win conditions. So now you're looking at a 6-life lead for Belgian Power, but Rejects in a very comfortable spot defensively, or are they? 3-man hit from Belgian Power through the middle. It's going to be down to Disable to try to hold this off, and with a little bit of help from Hockey, looks like they have done just that. There will be a post-martyrdom stick coming through, which means that Brezzy, the last player left alive, will be the one to really make the call for when they want to go into the B zone.
Well, there is a streak in the back pocket here for Belgian Power. They've got one ready to go, I believe. And here it comes from Abuser. They know that Rejects are down to their final 5 lives. This is going to cause a panic here at the disco for Rejects V2. And they are actually going to lose 2 players at the back of that. So just Connor, Saiyan, and Hawkeye left up here. Now Saiyan is dead. So just Connor and Hawkeye. Hawkeye going to fall. Connor now left up in a 1 versus 10 to try and keep the series alive. And no, Rejects cannot get it done. A 3-0 for Belgium Power, and Rejects still without a match win here in stage 5.
And I will say that 3-0 is actually really important in case there are tiebreaker scenarios to go through in the later stages. Although with that 0-5 count now for Rejects, you don't feel like they're going to be in a really solid position to close out this group stage where they have to play against Elevate and then their next match here, and then they have to play against Amelia tomorrow. So not great stuff as far as what you would expect from Rejects if they were to try to get their way out of the relegation conversation. But on the other side for Belgian Power, technically speaking, by score, the only things that were close were the respawns. But I think that there are some things to look back upon in this series to say, ooh, we really need to clean some stuff up, because their next match coming up, I believe, is actually versus Orglis. Yes, it is. So I'll say this much. Those mistakes and those overshells that you're doing on Search and Destroy will be punished by a team like Orglis. And then only having one step of what needs to be 2 or 3 could also leave you a bit short-sighted when it comes down to how Orglis play their respawn. So a tough battle coming up, but at least for Belgian Power, they secure their second win, which could put them in a tiebreaker situation at worst for that last spot in relegation, maybe.
Well, let's take a look at our map set at the end of that series between Rejects V2 and Belgian Power. I think you've kind of already hit the nail on the head with this one, Shift, to be honest. I mean, you can kind of discount that 6-0 in Search and Destroy. And I know that feels kind of mean to say, but I mean, as I said when we were watching it, really, that could very easily have been a 6-0 to Rejects V2. There were a fair few mistakes being made really by both sides that kind of enabled that scoreline. But as far as the 3-0, it's a 3-0 for Belgian Power. They'll be more than content with that one. You've already talked about the importance of this series overall for Belgian Power coming into it. Both of these two teams were looking down the barrel of relegation, of course. Even with 2 games left after this one, it's more about the runnings that they have, right? For Rejects V2, not all is lost. You know, they still have Elevate next, which, you know, I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it personally. However, I still think they've got autonomy in this situation because their last match is versus Amelia Strays. And this kind of, you know, in a way, now I'm not saying that they're already out. I don't know for a fact that Rejects V2 are already out because they could still force a God knows way tie, whatever, if Elevate lose, for example. But, you know, we've seen a situation, if you kind of remember, I think it was, I want to say it was obtained. who were they playing? I think it was a Spanish team. I can't remember.
Was it
A couple of
Pushing that was in the mix there?
Yes, yeah. Where Pushing were already out, and they basically dragged Obtain down with them a couple
Yeah.
of stages ago.
Yeah.
The same could still happen here. So keep your eyes on that matchup between Amelia Strays versus Rejects V2. That's going to be taking place tomorrow as sort of the last round of matchups. Do we know how the other series has gone? Because there was a series that's running concurrently with this one.
Yes, so here's the interesting news. Amelia Strays got 3-0'd by GCPW. But the problem with that situation here is that it means for both teams, if they want to avoid relegation, they have to win their second matchup today. Which means for Amelia, they play Mavericks and Rejects plays Elevate. Because otherwise, you're looking at two teams that are currently, at best, 1-6.
Right, yeah.
And that's not going to be good enough to get out of relegation, because if Rejects lose this matchup versus Elevate coming up and then they beat Amelia, one win is not going to force a three-way tiebreaker. So essentially for both teams, they have to get a second win. And even then for Amelia Strays, because they just got 3-0'd by GCPW, and they've lost to Belgian Power, even if they beat Rejects and go 2-4, it won't be good enough for them to get out of the group. So both teams essentially have to win out from here, as far as my mental math is starting to build up, which could be wrong. But if you're thinking about it from either of those two teams, you need to get the 3 wins to force tiebreakers. 1 win's not going to do it, and probably 2 won't either.
Dude, I love my tie breaks. So whatever situation that for a tie break needs to come, I want it. I want that situation. I don't care who wins or loses. I just want a tie break. I love them. Well, that's our first series for the day done. We've tried to our best explain some of the situations that could go down here. Tie breaks are always sort of a fun one to get through when it comes to week 2. I love it. I love it when we get into tomorrow. You guys know I'm going to be tweeting about it. Like, here's what needs to happen for X team to qualify. I'll be kind of disappointed, to be honest, if we already know who's qualified and who hasn't by the end of the day, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. We have a second series still yet to come today, though. I'm unsure who we actually managed to grab. I believe it was GCPW versus War.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be our match for number 2. We're going to get that match ready for you guys. Don't go anywhere, because after this break, we've got more Call of Duty coming your way.
Don't tell them I no long talk. It's a starship.
us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? We're the revolution. With the ground beneath your feet, with a whisper in the trees. Do you feel us watching? Hunger in our eyes, victories on our minds. It's our time to rise. Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? We're the revolution. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. usual. Yeah, I kill it cold like a criminal. I'm everybody's type, but nobody can deny. Yes, you know I get it. I'm getting freaky. Yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky on. Get that freaky. I'm getting freaky. Get it right. Get that freaky on. 챙겨 끄고 다 같이 freaky. Yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky on. Get that freaky. I'm getting freaky. Get it right. 상관하지 마. I'm getting freaky. Yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky on. Get that freaky on. I'm getting freaky. Get it right. 상관하지 마. I'll be on the top killer. I'll be on the top winner. I'll be on the top killer. I'll be on the top 'cause I own it, know it, I'm a red. I'm getting freaky. Yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky on. Get that freaky. I'm getting freaky. Get it right. Get that freaky on. 챙겨 끄고 다 같이 freaky. Yeah, I'ma bring the crazy. Get that freaky on. Get that freaky. I'm getting freaky. Get it right. 상관하지 마. I'm getting freaky. Yeah,
Just turn around and leave me. The tear in my eye drops on the floor alongside my speed. My knees are drenching in the blood I feel just to get in. When I look around me, everything I had went up in flames. My lonely way. When I look around me, everything I had went up in flames. My lonely way. I never pray to God anymore. I'd rather no one hurt me. Redemption, I have waited for you to come and drown all my sin. My knees are drenching in the blood I feel just to get in. When I look around me, everything
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running. Running low, keep running. I'm running low, keep running. Like an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running low, keep running. I'm running low, keep running. Like an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running.
need is 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes with you. Let me give it a one last shot. Will I ever get through to you? Oh, am I wasting my time? Should I leave for the night? It's unclear at the moment. Can you give me a sign? I'm here trying and trying. I need 10 more minutes with you. So let me know if you gave up hope. Do I leave you alone or I leave you alone? So let me know if you gave up hope by now. So let me know if you gave up hope. Do I leave
Welcome back, everybody, to the Call of Duty Challengers Elite community stream here. It's week 2, day number 1, and we're down to our final few matches here in the regular season for Europe, Alan. It's going to be GCPW versus Team War for our final match of the day, and this could well still be an important one, at least for a seeding. GCPW win this, they guarantee that they are safe, at least, from any form of relegation.
Yeah, that's true. I think there is still some consideration as far as what happens in possible tiebreaker situations. So like you mentioned, yeah, for GCPW, you would love to get this win underfoot. On the opposite side for Team War, you know, there is still an opportunity maybe to squeak into a top 2 position depending on what happens with Orglis or Mavericks' final couple of games. So, you know, there is still something to fight for both of these teams. I do think for the slot itself, this is probably going to be the most competitive match that's out there. Everyone else is probably going to be able to roll through their opponents without any kind of problem. You've got a lot of the top half playing a lot of the bottom half, and this is one that's right in the middle. So I'm really interested, I think, just to see generally. You know, we had a lot of conversation about Team War struggling in stage 4. They correct a lot of those mistakes. They look a lot better here in the 5th stage. But on the other foot for GCPW, this is a team that, again, has been trying to get some things put together. Chain and Whalers have been playing together for a while now with PD also in the mix. So this is about time to prove yourself. And coming off of a 3-0 win versus Amelia Strays, you're hoping that that provides a really competitive match here versus a very good Team War squad in their second slot of the for a third day, rather, of week 2 here.
Well, let's take a look at our map set for this series and give you guys a quick analysis of how this series is going to go down. We actually have quite a nice map set, I would say, here. I'm particularly happy with it because we have a standoff search and destroy from map number 2. We'll be kicking things off on Apocalypse Hardpoint. However, checkmate control from map number 3, and if necessary, checkmate Hardpoint and raid search and destroy to round out the series. As far as battlegrounds go for these two teams, I'm pretty happy with this one, Alan.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited just kind of looking ahead towards map number 2 because Team War in their previous series versus Orglis was down like 5-2, sent it to around 11, but could not quite clinch things up to take down Orglis. So I'm excited to see what they maybe adjusted and learned from that previous setup and what they bring in initially into their attempt here versus GCPW. On the other front, though, for Apocalypse Hardpoint for the first map, this is a map that GCPW just came off of a win-off versus Amelia Strays. It was a tight one, though, 250 to 220. So there are some things I think just left to kind of linger when it comes for both of these teams in their most recent sets that they played, and what can they actually do to adjust and carry it on here into this one. So we'll load on in. It'll be Apocalypse up first. I have to imagine this is probably GCPW's pick, just again, considering the fact that they came off their last series with a win, and I believe it was a pretty good comeback win as well, if I'm not mistaken. So some things, you know, just left to learn about what this team has to offer in the stage.
Yeah, for sure, right? But you'd imagine War will still be pretty proficient on this map. Of course, they brought in Yakko a couple of stages ago now, him being an SMG player. In for Invidian, he was an AR. Well, he still is an AR for this roster. So if we can get into the map, Yakko here, we'll see what he is able to do for a Team War. But right off the bat here, it's GCPW on the, what we describe as the better side of the map here, Alan.
And they've already been able to find a lot of time because of that as well. But here's the big key, just because of how this map works. You win one good gunfight and you get across the proverbial 50-yard line of this hard point, you can flip spawns out. So Team War are trying to do that right now, but the problem is they cannot find elimination. Chain finds a couple, and that puts GCPW right back into control when it comes to dominating what this next hard point setup is going to look like.
To be fair to Team War, they've managed to hold on to that scrap time and basically stop GCPW from getting the majority of it. So now it's all about this rotation, and Metals will end up picking up that first gunfight. Team War still applying all this pressure. Metals in from behind, picks up 2. Whaler's the last player left in the backline. He is dealt with, and a heck of a rotation from Team War. They mount up the pressure in the first hard point. They get it done, and here in P2 now in control.
It's a risky rotation as well. Double players coming through this cave, which is essentially no man's land, but they catch GCPW struggling to get their setup down to where the only player who reaches has to result on a Semtex trying to hold on to the rotation. It doesn't come through, so it's a gamble, but it's one that pays out in the end for Team War. 28 seconds to play, and GCPW, I mean, you could kind of throw numbers at this cave, but you're not going to break from this position. You have to find an angle somewhere else, and PD may have found this coming off the jump wall.
Lucky now on a 5 spree, he earns 2 more kills, and we're already looking at streaks. And on a map such as Apocalypse, Well, streaks are not something you want to give your enemies. So Team War in a stellar start here, really, to this game. Already in the lead by about 40 points or so. And now we really want to be looking at the rotation here, as Lucky is just effectively getting scrap time at this point. Team War will end up winning all of these rotational gunfights. And this is as bad as it could possibly get, really, for GCPW. They lose control of the rotation, and now it's War inside.
There were no gunfights that really needed to be won for Team War. They just put together a great exit based on the timing of how GCPW are trying to break for that back scrap 25 seconds. So it's just really good timing overall. But there will be some battle back here from GCPW. The problem is they're fighting for spawns, not the hard point. So Team War will have a chance to soak up a little bit of time here before the engagement occurs for GCPW, which is already on its way.
Yeah, to be fair to GCPW, they've managed to find their way in. Journey's not going to do anything more than just get the one gunfight there. So Team War now be spawning out all the way back to back. All they did for the moment, it's actually now going to be Journey and Yakko spawning all the way out towards P5. And that's not a terrible spawn, is it really, when you consider the rotation towards next, especially as Metals now picks up 2 kills in the last hard point. Team War should be able to get a grip on the rotation, at least for the moment. We'll see whether or not they win those gunfights.
The split spawn situation is actually ideal for Team War because you've got Lucky, who doesn't need to be a part of this play. He can just watch the rotations from Temple side, and the other players that spawned in the back of this useless building for Team War were trying to lock things down, but they do get kind of picked apart as GCPW did commit for the back 8 seconds worth of scrap time, which is a bit uncharacteristic, but it still pans out for them. And now the hit for GCPW, looking to be a more split fashion, but like I mentioned, that setup for Team War is here and built to deal with this, and largely they have. It just comes down to where they spawn now. It will be down towards the trench, and GCPW will have a chance to throw.
This is a terrible position for GCPW to be in, I think, generally, right? I mean, maybe Chain can do some heroics towards the back line, but Team War, they're going to continue to spawn out the back, right? I mean, yeah, GCPW, they spawn in here, they get the last 20 seconds of time, but still, you've got Team War in a great position for the rotation. They just need to win these rotational battles. If they can do it, they win control of what we describe as a money hardpoint in P5. For the moment, though, GCPW looking for control. They won't actually get it, and there's the kills coming in from PT and Chain. Those are 2 wonderful kills for that rotation.
No, honestly, for GCPW, the fact that you got a split spawn actually means that you know for a fact Team War is spawning trench, so it works out beautifully for you. It actually works out ideally because the players from back just have to make sure that the players on the hard point for Team War can't rotate. So they just sit here and anchor the entire time, and the players that spawn by the cave, they just flood on through and find kills either from cave or from coop. So that's actually ideal for GCPW, and now a setup that Team War is going to have to find a way to break.
They got Mel's in the back line trying it. He's able to pick up that first kill, so good start here for Team War to try and break one in. I did mention how hard this one is actually to break, and GCPW going to be trying to hold on to it for the moment. Chain with that kill against Yakko. Well, I mean, GCPW is just doing a stellar job at the moment of holding on to this time, but there it is. Team War able to chain together a few kills as they now get in for the last 20 seconds here, and GCPW actually not going to let this one go. They spawn out over towards the back, so they should actually at least get a look in, if not get the time, and well, there you go. They do exactly that. GCPW in for that time. They will be happy with the amount of time they do end up getting off the back of that one.
Yeah, War was just playing for the break. They weren't playing to hold on to the full scrap time. You get the break, and then you immediately saw War players starting to flood through bottom barrels over towards the Temple side of the map. Now, the thing is, no one's seen PD for a while. He's number 3, and now finally he makes himself revealed with that elimination up top onto Yakko. So an opportunity for GCPW to establish a threat in the back, but not yet convincing as the fight will still break loose. Yakko's going to come from behind this play and find one. It again forces PD into a 1v question mark situation where he just needs to try to play his life, and he likely will be overwhelmed, and that is the case. So again, perfection for Team War as far as what they're trying to do. You get this break in for the middle portion of the time on P5. You early rotate over towards the second part of the hard point here in Apocalypse. You find the wins there as well. So Team War in a really convincing spot through the first and eventually the second as it opens up.
And you got to throw back to that first set of rotations, right, where GCPW, they couldn't break this. Team War managed to hold it for basically the entirety of the time, and now you're at a threat. And Lucky, who is looking for number 7 on a spree, can't quite find it. He's shooting at 3 or 4 players, none of them able to finish, as Lucky still being denied a chance to earn this artillery strike. So he will get it in just a moment. For GCPW, however, it's all about putting this push together around the back line. PE's able to pick up 1. Whaler's in for the second. GCPW now coming in from behind, and Lucky needs to just get 1 kill here for a streak. There it is, number 1. Can he try and play for the second? No, he can't, but Chain comes in for 2. GCPW, Chain for 3. GCPW find their way in.
But War have the spawn still. GCPW so focused on the hard point, don't actually have the numbers to maintain the anchor in the back. So there is a chance for Team War to still fight this back. The problem is going to be they're not going to have a lot of numbers to do this. As Whalers takes down Yako. There's an opportunity to where you can actually find some success from the back. Metal tripling up, but PD there to deal with it. It would just be Lucky who's trying to finesse to the scrap time. He will find one, but he still has chain to get through.
It will be GCPW who have the last say on the back of that hard point. I think they'll be content with that, right? I mean, we always talk about how hard it is to break that hard point. Well, DCPW, they're able to get it done. Now the question is, can they get this rotation down? As Genesis is over here, will be the only player over here for the moment. You'd imagine should face some pressure from behind. He doesn't. Chain comes in to help from mid, and that kill from Genesis is perfect. Buys enough time for his roster to get into the hard point, and now it's about the hold.
The question here is the fact that it's just Journey by himself over here towards P5, and he's done well to find a couple of kills. The rest of Team War are going to be coming from the back. He thought for maybe a second GCPW would not necessarily expect it. They do well to neutralize the numbers for a time, but they find themselves on the outside looking in still. With 30 seconds to fight for, you feel like GCPW is going to commit, but take a look at Team War. They're already kind of sending a couple of numbers to deal with the middle of the map on this rotation, trying to get to the 4th hill, and it looks like GCPW, recognizing that Team War have tried to do that, will actually sacrifice the scrap time in favor of the rotation for new.
Team War, we'll see what they're able to do here on this rotation. It's GCPW already over here. Streak in hand for Lucky. And if all the hills you want to use a streak, this is the one, right? And here it comes from Lucky. This should push GCPW back into useless. Chain's actually going to stick here. It will be a regretful decision as he, well, tries to make the 50-50. It doesn't work out in his favor and War break in.
Yeah, Chain had nowhere to go. I mean, you might as well just give it a good old roll of the dice. See if maybe you stay alive through it. It gives you a chance to put some extra pressure. But you try to exit to Coop, you're dead. You try to exit to Cave, you're dead. There's really nowhere to go. So you have to kind of tip the energy, trying to think about maybe, oh, maybe they just missed me completely. But yeah, the streaks come through, and it gives Team War now win condition. GCPW spawning all the way out towards the back of Temple will mean that they have to hit this either from Coop or from the Cave. Neither are great options, and War are looking good to put this map away here.
Indeed they are. DCPW, you got to get into the hard point right now. Can you get it done? Metals should be ready for Genesis and PD to exit here into the hill. There's one, there's two, not three. Whalers will survive, but it doesn't matter anyway. Team War will be able to close it out here in map number 1 here. And I'd say that's a pretty convincing victory. GCPW, they kept up for a fair few moments in that game, but Team War always one step ahead.
Yeah, the kill feed doesn't tell the story of Apocalypse. This map is very much so Hackney Yard of Cold War, where it comes down to sometimes you're fine. You know, you play for one break, but then you need to put all of your investment into the next rotation because every single one of these hard points is zonable to make sure you can actually find 40 plus seconds. So there are moments in there where it's like, oh, cool, great kill feed for GCPW. Looks like they've won this moment, but in realism, that wasn't the case at all. Team War were fine giving them those kills in order to play for the rotation. And the fact of the matter was, Team War played the pacing of the map just a touch better than GCPW. Yes, the scoreline looks pretty egregious, but if GCPW win even one of those timings on rotation, that game turns into a 250 to 220, not a 250 to 150. So it's one of those situations that I feel like for Team War, you have to really give credit where credit is due. They played the macro of the map just better than GCPW, and it panned out for them with a major win.
Yeah, but not all was lost, right, for GCPW, because they did show signs of promise there in that map number 1. I think, you know, specifically looking at sort of, we talk about unbreakable rotations generally in this map. I think P2 and P5 are pretty egregious for that. And I mean, in both cases, GCPW, they showed the ability to break into those hard points and get some time for themselves. So well played from GCPW, but just better played from Team War in map number 1 as they now go 1-0 up in the series. Let's bring our map set up for you guys at home to show you how that affects the series. Of course, I mean, it means that War are 1-0 up. Up next, though, is Standoff, Search and Destroy. And, you know, we kind of already mentioned this just before we got into this series, but for Team War, they almost made a comeback versus August, who are arguably I mean, I'd say they are the best search and destroy team in Europe right now. They made a comeback, almost anyway. They pushed it to around 11 when they were 5-2 down. But it does show that Team War are pretty good at this map.
I would be curious, and I, you know, initially was kind of guessing at what the map picks were from each team, thinking that because, you know, GCPW just recently came off a win of Apocalypse, that was their map pick,
Right.
but they did spawn on the favored side. So it seems to be the opposite, where that was Team War's hard point pick, and we obviously saw why if that was indeed the case. That means that for GCPW, pending that, of course, that we're correct in our assumptions, and this is Standoff as their map choice for their search and destroy, You know, it's not exactly safe ground because, like you mentioned, Team War just showed some really good prowess versus Orglis on this map, getting them to a round 11 after being down 2-5. But at the same point, you're hoping that for GCPW, your search and destroy strengths really do shine, and you put Team War in another very puzzling and maybe even very, very difficult situation early on into this map. That's the big key. If GCPW can take the trend of finding the tempo and the pace here on standoff early and put Team War into a corner, you could find another win here and tie the series up.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk big picture for a second then for these two rosters, right? Because I think it's very interesting to talk about the story that Team War and GCPW have had this season, right? Two very different teams. Because Team War, I find it kind of crazy that we're even in this position talking about Team War. This has been their best stage, I think, since stage 2 or 1.
One, right? Before
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
Rams and Galacticos, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because you look at Team War and where they started out this season, you know, early on they were battling with August to be the #1 team. You got to remember, right, going all the way back to stage 1, Team War, it was a round 11 victory in game number 5 in that grand final versus August that got them the title of stage 1 champions. But since then for War, it's kind of been this very interesting almost. It's not the hugest of gradients of downhill paths that Team War have taken, but still they haven't quite been the same since. And even when making that change, where they brought Yakko onto the roster instead of Invidian, you look at the stage 4 performance they had, it was still worse than stage 3. And maybe this is the point here, Shift, where we see this team really start to come into their own. I mean, we've said this a lot. If you're going to come into your own at any point, now is the time to do it because finals are coming up.
Yeah, and just beyond that, you know, outside of the recent historical results in the stages, I think you got to look more generally at the cumulative of what's happened this year in Elite. Because Team War, this roster largely has not missed a stage. Neither have Orglis, and really neither have this Elevate team when they were Passion before that. So that's really impressive. It's not easy to do that. I mean, so to sit there and talk about the fact that you're looking at 3 squads that have, I would say, identified themselves as the best 3 in Europe, even though, again, the results have not been categorically great for War and going from stage 4 now into here, where they've been able to show some recovery. The fact of the matter is that on the year, they have been a top 3 team in Europe just based off the results themselves. So that's the great news overall. We'll jump on into the Search and Destroy to see what exactly unfolds and if GCPW can try to supplant some of those conversations and put themselves in the forefront of the EU conversation.
Well, we'll see. Right now, they're on 3 versus 3. Bomb now down towards A, but Team War, they seem to have some medium of control over the site. Trade's going down over there. Petey tries to peek round, goes for a double flank in from behind, and will get punished for it. And now it's down to Metals, the veteran player here, probably the most veteran player in the lobby between the 8 that we have hit. What can he do? And Lucky and Metals, they're trying to find him. Whalers is doing such a smart thing, but Lucky sniffs him out. Whalers will fall, and that will be a bomb defuse for War.
Yeah, the thing that we noticed when we were kind of watching over the Team War versus Orglis series at the end was that they were doing a really nice job on both offense and defense recovering this A site. There were a couple of weird moments where, like, even offensively, Team War looked like they were going to be without any instance of finding this A zone in their favor, but they make one good aggressive play to get a take going. And the same thing can be said about their retake here. Metals just pokes out, finds one, and it creates so much space for the SMGs just to follow up. It was Metals who was trying to work his way kind of around the back side of that play, and it just creates opportunities. So that's the big thing that we're really looking for, at least I am when it comes to Team War, is how much opportunity can they create, because that was where things really changed for them in those late stages versus Orglis in map 5.
Well, we shall see. Team War going to take this one relatively slowly. GCPW at the moment. Interesting setup. They've kind of gone pretty heavy onto A. I'd say that's pretty normal, though, generally, where GCPW are. So Team War just trying to sniff it out at the moment.
Yeah, I like this from Team War. They've thrown a little bit of utility on all sides of the map, just trying to keep GCPW a little bit thin, but the big clearance is Journey in the back. It's going to lead for an opportunity to isolate the player outside Delhi. They find it. Genesis was tagged down low, and the bomb's going to be planted now because of it.
GCPW, how do you react to this? The closest player to do anything about it is Chain. They are not going to stop the bomb going down. And Team War should get away with at least 1 free kill here, pending PT not checking this, as this is just such an unusual position in from Yakko, and there you go. That's a lovely position from Yakko. Chain left in a 1 versus 4. He's a player who we've gassed up quite a bit this season, unfortunately not able to pull off that 1 versus 4. But what a play from Yakko.
I love it from Team War because there aren't enough trophy systems to keep every part of the map safe. So you put pressure middle, you put pressure back alley, and you keep pressure continually on A. And for GCPW, once they lose that player in W, who I believe was Genesis tagged up by a Semtex, by the way, that's what gives the instance for Team War to find one small advantage. And then retaking? You can't just retake by going right around the backside of the A site and then cut across Grandma's to get to B. You have to have some pressure along the back. So GCPW essentially have to make that play through Yako. I love that setup from Team War. And now they're going to really bunker up inside a hotel here with 3 members who can guard this B site.
GCPW looking to rely on Shane actually to try and open up this entire play through mid. He will do it. And that was a good play coming in from Chain. Genesis picks up 1. Whalers also. GCPW, I really love that play. Chain's play in the mid-map effectively just makes them second guess what's going on over at the bomb site.
I think the other thing, too, is the fact that Team War try to execute map position takeover the same time that GCPW is also trying to execute. So it actually forces the position where Team War don't have the ability to respond to the first blood from Chain over by Hotel. I think ideally, if Team War are not in the motion of trying to take over the A site and you get that kill on your kill feed saying, oh, we've lost first blood mid-map, we actually need to back somebody up over towards Grandma's to help watch that rotation. But instead, they're caught trying to take that forward position at A, and the timing just isn't all that great. This time, GCPW looking for a very similar setup as they've got 3 players mid-map.
Lucky. Big first kill. Still going to find himself under siege here. PE and Genesis trying to get control of Brown for the moment. And that's a free kill. Whalers out in the open. Lucky with the punish. Should shot off the head of Genesis as well. PE will take down Yako. So now 3 versus 2. Never mind, just a 1 versus 3 now for Genesis. He does get that first kill. Will survive momentarily. Oh, looks away at the wrong time. Bad Call of Duty time in there for Genesis. It happens, though. And War will end up picking the round.
It just comes down to an unfortunate mantle right here from Chain. I think he's trying to do peek, and then he just gets mantled. So Lucky finds that first blood, and then from there, both PD and Genesis can't stay Hotel anymore. Whalers also feels like he needs to alleviate A to try to help out the middle of the map, and as he does, Lucky's timing off the regen is good for a second peek. So it's a kind of a copy-paste of what happened last round in a way, where GCPW are trying to make a play forward to take care of this Brown Hotel, but in the moment, they just get a little bit of unfortunate timing off their first blood as Chain falls, and Team War capitalized very nicely. So a couple of decent rounds back and forth as far as what the initial ideas are, and it really just comes down to how those will change in my mind as we get forward. It's going to be a very aggressive defensive hit for Team War around the back, and they actually convert first blood off screen on.
Oh, nice trade coming in here from Chain, though. Snuddles lost for GCPW. As a matter of fact, GCPW in a much better position. Chain! That's a beautiful shot across the map against Nettles. And what I was about to say, okay, do you know what? I'm just going to shut it. I'm just going to shut it. Shift. Chain is winning all of these gunfights. Oh my God. Chain. What on earth was that?
It's beautiful is what it is. I mean, this is the level of play that we come to expect from Chain. World Champs appearance in Black Ops 4. Great performance last year in Modern Warfare with Singularity. Having run the MP5, by the way, for a lot of it, and now AR in hand, he's looked absolutely phenomenal. Incredible play at long range, very stable. Doesn't miss a single bullet anywhere in the mix, really.
It's an ace from Chain. What a round out of him. GCPW going to be very happy with that one. Chain will be extremely happy with it also. Now for Team War. Where do they take this bomb? And look at this setup from defense from GCPW. They've got no presence over towards A. They've stacked onto the back alley towards B. Now, that information will be given away. I believe Journey has actually seen both PE and Genesis there with that push. And with that information, War will be more than happy to push over towards A.
This is the retake setup for GCPW. They're not trying to contest this plant whatsoever, so I'm really curious to see how exactly they're going to try to force their way through. You have to feel like Genesis has to be the first one in the back. He's number 4. He's going to have point of contact with Journey, and that could determine the entire round based on what happens with that 1v1.
On the mid-map, Yako is going to win that gunfight versus PT. Trade's going down. You say Journey still in this power position over towards the L wall. So Chain and Whalers here need to deal with him before they do anything. They simply don't. Journey, he outplays them. He gets that first kill, but it's now Chain in a 1 versus 2. And with the amount of time left on the board here for Chain, of course, on a 6 spree, just save yourself for those streaks. If you can get an exit frag, well, why not? But I think at this point, safety first, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and it really does in my mind for GCPW come down to that retake. It was all on Genesis, and think about how close they were at one point to actually taking care of Journey. Journey was down to 19 HP at one point early in the initial stages of this 6th round. If he falls, that retake for GCPW, much safer, but the help from Lucky above keeps Journey tucked away inside the courtyard corner, and there's really no way that anything that GCPW does will actually deal with him. They've already used their nades, they've already dealt with a lot of the early pressure by utility, so there's no way to flush him out, and Journey staying safe, in my mind, was actually a huge part of why that post point was so successful for Team War.
GCPW taking a step back here in this search and destroy with Team War winning that round. We'll see how they respond. And I'll tell you what, Shift, seems like a fast response from GCPW. They're not waiting for anything. If they can get that bomb across to the site, they should be okay with the cover. Chain from up top in brown. He should provide the cover necessary to get this bomb down.
And there's no reason after Chain's last ace on this part of the map, going into potentially playing for streaks, that you wouldn't just try to enable him a chance to get a long look. PD clears out from corner. There's no one down low that can deal with Chain, so it's just down to, can he win a long-range gunfight? And he does. And I wouldn't be surprised if you can get PD to plant this bomb, if you don't maybe even just use the streaks here in this 3v3, depending on how the next set of engagements go. But PD not feeling comfortable around the B site, backs away, and as he does, he runs right into Yako, who will be traded, but it's Genesis 1-2.
Yako was sat there for so long.
Yes,
like,
he was.
I'm surprised nobody saw him because his head and his gun was both sticking out. I know, obviously, I say that we have X-ray vision, so it's a little bit easier for us to say that on the casting desk. But Yako, frankly, got gifted that kill there in that round, and of course, from that, the round just fell apart.
And it's after the first blood comes through that I feel like if you're going to try to guarantee around here for GCPW, and we didn't get a chance to see it from Chain's POV, I think you just reset everything back to neutral and then use the artillery strike ping just to see what Team War are doing. That in its own self could have guaranteed you a 4v3 round win, but they don't really ever reset after the first blood. So, you know, now you're in a situation where you're down to 5, and this artillery strike, you spent so long trying to earn it, but it might not make much of a difference whatsoever, depending on how the outcome of this opening first blood would go, which seems to be back over towards this back alley in Delhi. And yeah, Chain is going to now call in for the information off the ping, but I don't know what you're going to do here to try to convert off of that. There's really not a lot of motion that you can do to be able to put Team War in an uncomfortable spot.
Chain's just throwing shoulders at the moment to try and bait out any Team War players. He's going to be able to bait out the first, but immediate trade does come through, so any advantage gained has immediately dissipated. Team War want to get this bomb down. The problem for Team War is, I don't know if they actually know that there's a streak on the side for Chain, but as soon as they go for this, you'd imagine Chain will try to use it, and there it is. Does it get anything? That's the question.
It stops the plant. That's the only key. So it actually does force Lucky into Delhi, which means that there's an opportunity for GCPW to watch him cross back and forth between those two sites. They don't find Lucky, they find Metals, and that means for now, the one member of Team War, it's going to have to be a post plant of him versus 3 to try to secure this 6th round.
I rate this from Lucky, at least trying the 1 versus 3 right, but he's just stuck in this position at the moment. Even if Chain doesn't get that kill, Whalers trades it. That's a round for GCPW, and he will actually get the cruise missile off the back. Or actually, no, he's not. Did he die?
He fell.
He died.
Round.
Okay, I thought we had the glitch where sometimes the streak resets between rounds, but that's okay. He's dead. No second streak for Chain. GCPW not out of this one yet. I suppose the good news here, though, right, for Team War is that they no longer have to deal with a streak from GCPW. Like, the extra card there for GCPW has been played.
Yeah, there's no extra energy here for GCPW outside of just Chain being a monster in this game. So, I'm curious, does GCPW try to put Chain top hotel again? Because it's been very successful for you in the last 2 offenses. We're going to get our answer. It's going to be a no. Stun check over the top actually does connect. That's huge for Team War. It gives them a chance to slow down this hit, and most importantly, that means that both Metals and Journey can actually get forward onto the A side and contest this potential early hit.
They're just stuck. They're stuck in this position, and they need to find a way out of it right now as Team War win this round. Genesis gets rid of the trophy system. That will enable the stun to come through. The utility is being thrown. What can you get off the back of it? There's kill number 1. Looking for kill number 2. Metals will survive. Trade, though, is there, and GCPW now have control. And I'm kind of curious here, because Team War are actually putting more numbers onto the point. Did they just rotate this?
I mean, you
no,
can. That's the big key. I was going to say that Team War has to respond. GCPW doesn't. That's actually so huge. Just taking the corner in, maybe it's a bit of a misplacement of the trophy, but the fact that trophy gets denied is the only reason GCPW come out with a 2-for-1 exchange right here. The stuns plus the Semtexes get everybody either concussed or more importantly, weak, which is obviously important because PD survives with 1 HP through that final gunfight. But the thing is, once you're in that position, because it's a 2v question mark for GCPW on the attack towards A, Team War have to respond with more members to reinforce to make sure they can stop that plant. So GCPW has an advantage not just because of the numbers, but they also should know they forced Team War to rotate. So really good round there from GCPW dealing with the trophy and getting an execution.
Well, how about this round from them? Right off the bat, they've decided to go heavy on the A defense. Just one player keeping an eye on B. War still keeping their options open here. They have leaned towards A, but I think now thinking about this B push.
I mean, it's the same thing that we had from round one. They're just trying to stretch GCPW as thin as possible. And the thing that's going to be different from round one to this round is the fact that GCPW aren't stretched thin. They have a 3-man stack at A, which means that even if the bomb goes towards B, they have the ability of watching the cross onto the bomb pretty freely, but more importantly, the option of playing heavy-handed through the flank is there. And Team War are once again going to be in a position where they don't really love the look at what's going on, so they're going to continue to put the feelers out. And it looks like eventually now, with Journey getting around the back through Delhi with this Semtex, they will have the opportunity to control the back of this B site.
Yakko wants to get this bomb down. He does it. This round could well be Team War's, and well, now it might just be. Look at that collapse coming in from Team War. GCPW
So
left down to their last man, and Team War, they leave it late till in the round, but honestly, all the cards were in their favor for the entirety of that round.
This is the exact same setup that Team War had from that first round, by the way, or their first offense, I should say. When GCPW, we talked about the fact that they don't have enough trophies to keep everything safe. So you kind of feel out where those trophies are. And once they realize one's down at A and one may have been in the back alley, it was kind of hard to tell. That means that you can essentially use your utility inside of Delhi, which is exactly the case. The Semtex from Yakko comes out. Journey's in that same play around the back. The only difference is that this round, Genesis isn't in the back. So there's no reason for anybody from Lucky's point of view to really be focused on his attention through Grammars. He just watches that cross exiting from A. They get a really good read that GCPW have to be heavy-handed towards A, and they deal with it absolutely perfectly. Really, really good search and destroy here from both teams, but especially from Team War. Marked improvements from stage 4.
I kind of feel bad for Chain in a way, right? Because he played really well in that search and
Really
destroy,
well, really
and especially that ace. What was it, round number 4 or 5? It was just incredible coming out from a Chain there. But it's not enough as Team War are gonna end up taking. I can't English apparently. Gonna end up taking map number 2 in our series, and well, just one map away now from a 3-0, and they've already guaranteed a place in at least the knockout bracket, but still looking to keep their hopes alive of getting into the playoffs straight away without having to go through that said knockout bracket. Let's take a look at our map set for the series, just to show you guys what's next up in the control. It is going to be Checkmate, and this is a map where really sort of you're a blend of AR and SMG players. It needs to be almost perfect on a map such as Checkmate.
Yeah, I mean, especially with how Team War have played Checkmate lately, they've been really, really good about making sure the ARs are the ones to find the information first, and then the SMGs will take advantage of either the vulnerabilities where the holes are in the, I won't say necessarily just the defense, but where the holes are in their opponents and really kind of capitalize on map positioning.
Right.
Or beyond that, you're just finding good lockdown kills from your ARs, and your SMGs can follow up very quickly to make sure that you find yourself multiple odd man situations in your favor. So the speed and efficiency that Team War have showcased on Checkmate has been, again, marked improvements from where they were from last stage. But I think the big key from here on out is just seeing what they can do to get back to where they once were, which was a top 2 team in Europe. That's the big question mark. I think that the series that you just had versus Orglis is going to inspire some confidence as far as what adjustments may still need to occur, which, to be honest, is also going to include the conversation on Checkmate Control, because they did get 3-0'd here by Orglis in their last series. So there are some considerations to kind of keep in the back of your mind here if you're Team War in the immediate series in front of you. But largely, I'd have liked the way that Team War have, at least when we've seen them play Checkmate. So we're hoping they can find a way to recover that here versus GCPW. We're on the other foot. GCPW need to show us something special here if they want to get back in the series.
For sure, right? And you kind of talk about sort of how good Team War are on this map mode combination. They have been all season long. And you know, you kind of go all the way back to stage 1. Checkmate Control, they were one of the first teams to figure it out. And you know, that hasn't changed. You know, the rest of the teams, yes, everybody else, you know, your Orglises, your Elevates, even your Amelia Strays and your Mavericks, they've kind of caught up. But nonetheless, you know, War is still very good at this map mode combination. And that spells trouble for this GCPW roster. Now, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about the history of Team War before we got into the map number 2. So let's talk about GCPW somewhat, because this team is filled to the brim with players that haven't been in Challengers Elite since stage 2, I believe.
Stage
I
2,
want to say. Yeah, none of them have been in Challengers Elite from stage 2. For those that were in Challengers Elite during stage 2, it wasn't a great stage. You know, especially looking at the Whalers, where Train Hard, I believe, they got 8th back there, and in stage number 2, it wasn't a good stage, frankly. But for this GCPW roster, as a team, they have done really well since forming in stage number 4. I kind of talked about this last week. You know, looking at 4th in Cup number 16, 3rd in Cup number 17, top 6 in Open number 4. They've had some stellar placements, so they are a sleeper team here.
I think so. It just comes down to the simple fact that they find themselves in the conversation at the beginning of the day here. That was their bottom 4 needing wins. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is they did come out and they found the win versus Amelia Strays, which was a requirement just to try to keep yourself a little bit more distant from the relegation conversation. But you still have to try to find your way to not just get through Team War here. You also have Elevate tomorrow. So you don't want to be stuck on just 2 wins, because you have to feel like if that's the case, you will be in the conversation pool of relegation. Maybe it's by tiebreaker, but the separation won't necessarily be there depending on how things go. And again, the stretch to get back into the series, but PD's first 2 kills allows an opportunity for the defense to set up early. And Lucky by himself really can't do too much besides maybe stall the clock if he wants to.
He's going to try it. Get on a B for the moment. Maybe make some heroics happen. First kill versus Whalers will be what he wants, and actually not going to give him the opportunity. Genesis tries to take him down. I'll tell you what here, Shift. War have actually made something of this. First tier progression is in.
That's not bad at all. I mean, Journey's timing to help make sure Genesis doesn't get the kill from up top on the plane behind is actually really nice. So it does secure 1 tick of progress. Again, it would have been hard-pressed to feel like that was going to turn into more, but still, the fact of the matter is when it comes down to playing for the round 5 advantage, you do have an extra tick here to at least deal with early. The problem is GCPW has actually been really aggressive so far in this defense. I mean, even without numbers, PD's trying to play forward, and to be fair, it's actually kept Team War a bit pinned up. But the problem is when you play risky like that, sometimes you're rewarded, other times you're very instantly punished, which is what's occurring here with the double stack onto A.
Well, Team War going to try it over towards A. They've got Lucky on the wing, and that's going to keep playing control for Team War. Can they continue on as they are? Genesis wants to try and take the players at the point. He is able to get 1 kill and a second as well. That's huge from Genesis. Metals will stay alive, though, and keep the hopes of Team War capturing A alive with it. Will end up falling. Trades coming through. Journey now next up to the plate. He is unable to do it, but pressure still over towards B for Team War. 25 seconds on the clock, though. You've got to get something going now.
Yeah, and it's another weird moment where Genesis, I think it was, or maybe it was Chain, I'm not sure who exactly it was, but the play on A is unfolding, and they push through the plane to get over towards scaffolding, and it turns Team War around just long enough for GCPW to actually get numbers to fully contest and eventually retake not just the A zone, but I think Team War thought that they were really comfortable. They marked that, hey, we got 3 players down. The 4th has to be coming off spawn, and let's actually come off our respawn and go towards B, thinking that A was already done. So it's a little bit of trying to reach into the cookie jar a bit too far there for Team War. They get punished, and again, I think it's just because GCPW are very unorthodoxly actually playing really aggressive. So they've actually turned Team War around a couple of times unexpectedly, and that is how they get that first defense to play.
Well, we're talking about how good Team War are at this map mode combination in round number 1. Not the greatest, but hey, it was an offense. These things do happen, especially on Control here in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. We'll see how GCPW now get on. Can they extend their advantage here in their offensive round? Well, I think most importantly, it's going to be about plane control, and Genesis and Petey are up here trying to get it. The former will end up falling. Petey's now the last player left alive. Team War with the old bait and switch managed to get control. And now it's about regaining full control of the map. Chain tries to make some heroics happen over towards A. Can't do it.
Yeah, you know, there are multiple decisions you can make on the offense as far as what do you want to do first. Obviously, I think more traditionally in the CDL, we see teams try to set up a play to get onto A early. But one of the things we've noticed pretty largely over the last couple of weeks is that teams are starting to go back to what the day 1 strat was, which is let's stack and find plane control. The problem is they don't really find the opening kills to allow them the chance to do that. And with that, now essentially you're in a scramble mode because it takes so long to clear the plane, let alone the fact that you're not stalling the clock. So you're putting yourself against the clock when you make a decision like this, and that's going to be probably the indicating point of what happens here for GCPW from here on out with only 25 seconds to play.
That's such an important kill there from the Zero Whalers. He was starting to heat up there over towards the point, and now just 20 seconds. GCPW kind of boxed into hitting towards A. Journey is here to deal with it, as is Yakko. You've got players around in the position. Chain is swiftly dealt with, and I don't think anything's going to come more of this round, really. Team War, they have left a lane open, an opportunity open for GCPW to make something happen over towards B. PE's not going to get to touch, though. Team War able to close out that round.
It's closed out once the initial gunfights are won. That's the big thing. When you make a play to go for plane control, it just takes so much time off the clock when you're the offense. So unless you convincingly take the plane, you're not going to have a really good look at stalling the clock or gaining progress for a while. And this moment here for Metals was just another lockdown where the 2 kills off spawn, like even if Whalers finds that elimination, it's really an insignificant one because there's nobody there to help follow up. So the trade is likely to be there no problem. So yeah, I think that whole round was just determined off the fact that GCPW committed to plane control and they didn't win the battle. It just took too long for the play to unfold, and Team War come out on top very comfortably because of it.
Well, Team War looking to win this offensive round. We've talked about how important plane control is, and they're going straight for it once again. Yakko and Journey inside. This time around, though, Yakko picks up one, can't shot punch for the second. Genesis with 2 inside. And Team War now, I mean, their initial push for plane control completely falls apart.
And this is the difference. You don't play for plane control, you play a little bit more over towards A. You have the ability of stalling this clock. So even if you don't find a win on the control point here, you're able to at least give yourself more time to play the round out. But here again, look at 8 PDs in the back once more. And at certain point, Team War just need to have a PD GPS on because he has slipped through so often in times that you would not normally think that a player defensively is in your spawn. He's now on 4 in a row, and GCPW has completely claimed this defensive round by positioning alone.
You need to deal with PE here. You just cannot let PE start a heat up like this when he is a monster when he's on a spree. And there it is, number 7, PT. With a streak here, give him the cruise missile. Well, apparently not. Metals is going to shut down before he does get that. But artillery strike is in. That'll be nice for a ping later on. And of course, actually for the artillery itself. But GCPW, they've had both hands, feet, every single limb on the steering wheel here in this round. Team War haven't really done all that much at all. But now an opportunity to do, well, what we've been talking about, the fact that they've not been able to do. Team War now on the point, starting to ramp up the pressure.
Got to make a decision here for Team War. What zone are you going to commit to? You've got players on both at the moment. You really would have to feel like A is the easier zone, but Journey finds a double up just colliding through Genesis and PD, and now all of a sudden GCPW is going to be in an absolute panic. Where do we go off of this spawn? Because you've got progress pretty much done at A and a second tick. Ooh, just a bit short of that on the B zone. The recovery is decent here for GCPW.
Well, Team War will put an extra 60 seconds on the clock now. Capture over towards A, and oh, Metals, that's huge. Team War look to get into B, and Metals continues on his spree, just mowing GCPW down. And now Team War, they do what they do best. They stack the point. Oh my goodness, though. GCPW, P had the streak, he uses it, and Team War, they look like they were about to get that stack in, just a sliver of progression away, and back into their spawn they go.
It's too greedy from Team War. Just back away from the streak. I know you're trying to make the gamble of if we just sit here, maybe we survive long enough to get the capture and the streak is negligible, but that's not the case. Now a 4v7, still tons of time on the clock, but Team War, no respawns remaining. They have to be clean on this break attempt, and you're looking at Yakko, top side of the minimap. Maybe he can make a play around the back to see if he can open up some space.
I was going to say, I mean, all you need to do there if your Team War is just stack the point as a team. I do make it sound so easy from my safe space here on the casting desk. But Lucky's left all on his lonesome there in a 1 versus 6. And Team War, they almost made it happen. But GCPW just a little bit stronger here on the defense.
This play for Metals is unbelievable. I mean, the first couple of the kills are pretty free. But the fact that he doesn't miss a single shot and he can essentially go kill for kill without a reload is unbelievable. So these 4 eliminations, this is where things get really interesting because realistically, after Journey's initial play and then Metal's secondary play, you think that it's just a stall tactic on B, and GCPW can still commit their numbers to making sure they retake the A zone. But because Journey initially finds a lot of kills, and then Metals in the second attempt does the exact same thing, it puts GCPW in a bit of a bind. It's just really fortunate that the artillery strike was earned in the first place and then was efficient in the second place. So now an opportunity to go back in where Team War are going to have to respond to the defense. And be another look at the stack for GCPW. It's all mid-map, looking to get this plane control.
This time, Team War put much less pressure over here as well. They put 1 player inside the plane. The rest are effectively pushed all the way back towards the steps. And GCPW off the back of that, of course they're going to take free control of the plane. Genesis now looking to solidify it. Will just be trying to play games with metals. Fortunately, that's not the game you want to play. Will be taken down, and Team War, they regain control for the moment.
But it comes at a little bit of a cost initially. And it's still just, for me, I think this is why we're seeing that initial 4-man hits or even 3-man hits for the plane control on the offense is just antiquated as far as the strategy is concerned, because it just takes too long. There are too many defensive angles that you can use with one player and be able to contest both zones. And you're seeing that largely from Metals in the first place, who's he's now made his way over towards Tetris. He does get dealt with, but it's such an easy look for the defense. So yeah, Genesis on the zone for now, but he's by himself, and he's going to try to make a heroic play through the 5th hard point, and that's going to mean for Team War, it's just about making sure you keep this mid-plane control. Who cares about Genesis in the back for now?
Well, I mean, Genesis could still cause some problems here, right?
Dead.
I mean, he does end up picking up that kill, and, well, I mean, if he did a little bit more, maybe he would have opened up a lane for GCPW to get control of B, but they quickly deal with it. They do actually provide enough time for GCPW to get looking over towards A. It's whether or not they win their one-on-ones, and, well, they don't. It's really that simple. Team War able to win the round.
Yeah, Genesis's position with maybe an extra 30 seconds, I agree with you. But with 12 seconds on the clock, it doesn't matter what Genesis does in the back. All you have to do is make sure you play off the objective for your Team War. So I just think it's one of those things that he's got to play his life, and he thinks that the best play is to move forward, which is fine because it provides some safe haven. But for Team War, with 12 seconds on the clock, who cares? Just let them be back there. It doesn't matter if they've got bottom map, mini-map control, because you can contest the B zone from the top side of the minimap, so it just doesn't matter. So it's a hell of a try for Genesis, but in the end, it's just a terminal situation with the clock that was at such critical moments. So now it's round 5. Team War have done more successful play off the offense, so they will get the pleasure of a defense first, and this is better for GCPW. Don't full stack the plane, get somebody on the A zone soon, and see if Team War will be then in a stretch position defensively.
They just don't check Yakko there. They don't realize that he is still a problem that they have to deal with. GCPW, though, not in a terrible position, to be honest. They can now start making progression over towards A, and that's a good start for Genesis, who hasn't had the best game so far, but still has had his moments. We'll now look to progress onto this point for Team War. I think at this point, you could still try and recapture this if you wanted to, but you got to do it pretty quickly. And if anything, you just need to make sure you do not let them progress straight from A over towards B. Team War, they still want this. That's a lovely kill coming in there. Chain tries to stay alive. He can't do it, but the point has been captured.
Yeah, it's just down to a simple timing play. It's a 3-man hit from Team War to retake largely from the front with a small pinch from the middle, but it's Yakko who's trying to clear the middle of the map, and he's just a little bit too late finding the kill up top onto the plane wing, which gives GCPW just enough of a chance to fight back against the retake, just long enough to get themselves the final ticket progression that they need. So now you're looking at a minute 40 on the clock and mid-map control. This is all looking really nice for GCPW.
It is. I mean, they're pretty happy with this at the moment. They've got a few attempts at capturing this point. They just do not want to lose map control to Team War. It's very easy to lose grip on this game and get yourself spawn trapped into... Well, you spawn. GCPW looking for a way forward. PE has actually maybe found it. He slipped the net. They have zero idea. PE, this is the play that we wanted to see earlier on from Genesis. A little bit more time on the clock, and Genesis would have been doing this. It's whether or not War sniff him out. And to be honest, even if they do right here, Shift, he's going to be a problem they need to deal with.
Yes, because of the time on the clock. That's the big thing. You don't have the ability here to just play off of the objective. You actually need to play for map control, and PD's position will always deny map control because he could slip into wood and deal with anybody who's top wing. So yeah, that's the right call here for Team War. The good news for Team War fans is that they do collect themselves very nicely. And now it's up to GCPW to once again have to retake the map, and I'm really curious to see which direction they want to go. It looks like they are going to largely focus to getting inside the plane. I can agree with the call, and it's going to provide some success with even trades coming through.
GCPW still have a look into this point. Team War, they might have control of the plane, but they need to deal with the immediate problem on the point. And, well, Lucky does exactly that by swinging wide and taking PT down. To Team War, 30 seconds on the clock now for GCPW to do something. They're down to their last 7 lives. You need a Hail Mary play, and you need it right about now. Whalers starts pretty well, gets that first kill. Chain picks up another one. GCPW starting to wind up here. but you need something special out of Whalers and Genesis. Whalers will pick up one, and he does make it realistic, but Team War continue to have the final say. There's just 3 players left alive for GCPW, now make it 2. Just down to Chain. He's been an incredible player for GCPW. Not that incredible, though, as Team War walk away with a 3-0 series victory. They keep their hopes of a playoff spot alive.
Yeah, it's really, really good focus from Team War, considering the fact that I'm largely looking at them on their offense. Defensively, GCPW was playing the map in a way that we haven't seen teams play it in a long time, where you have this balance of risk versus reward when it comes down to defensively. How far forward do you want to push? When you've got numbers and some mid-map control, sending a member or 2 up towards yellow, over back towards Tetris, those areas are pretty safe to you at least to try to finesse into. But PD and Genesis were trying to do that when it was just themselves alive. That's so risky, because if you die, you've got Team War all over both zones. The thing was, Team War wasn't expecting it, and it allowed GCPW's defense to actually find some really big favor. The problem was GCPW's offense. 2 different times out of the 3 attacks, they hard committed off the rip to getting plane control, and they came up empty. In the 3rd round, they throw a couple of players to contest plane, but the whole forward aggression is onto the A zone. It gets them the opportunity to not just stall the clock, win out the battles as beyond that in mid-map, and it gives them an extra 60 seconds. So for GCPW moving forward, I'll let them try to adapt more of a realistic, traditional, generic playstyle like they showed in that 5th round, and maybe they have more of an opportunistic time defensively to keep playing the way that they just did, because there were some good moments there, but honestly speaking, Team War just made the right reads, the right adjustments, and it panned out for them specifically on their attack to give them that round 5 defensive favor.
Well, it does indeed, right? Team War going to be 3-0ing GCPW, and I mean, we'll talk about what that means for the overall standings of things going forward in just a moment. But first of all, let's take a look at our map set to show you guys how the entire series laid out for Team War. Of course, the 3-0 for them, 250 to 158 on Apocalypse Hardpoint in what was a pretty good map, I think, from Team War overall. But GCPW definitely showed some rebellion. Standoff Search and Destroy, not all that difference. GCPW had their moments, but Team War came out on top, and then, of course, as you guys just saw, a very heated checkmate control where even offenses didn't look safe for each side, but it is going to be Team War coming out on top. Overall, 3-0, and I think it's time to have that conversation about what this means overall for the standings, because Team War now, I believe they are 4-2, so they keep themselves alive in the conversation for a playoff spot potentially, given, I mean, it really depends what happens with Elevate and with Mavericks and August, of course, because that's sort of the top half of the group that we were talking about coming into the broadcast. For GCPW, things, I mean, they still have fate in their hands, right? I mean, they are still, to a somewhat certain extent, trying to see what goes on with everybody else. But if they beat Elevate tomorrow, which I know is a tall order considering they just lost to Team War 3-0, they will guarantee themselves a spot in the knockout bracket. But they've done well today with their first match victory versus Amelia Strays.
And another update, Mavericks is currently up 2-0 on Amelia Strays right now. So it's looking like to end this day, number 3, Amelia Strays will be 1-5. Rejects are probably going to be 0-5, 0-6.
Right.
And that means that you're in a position to where, honestly, it might not make a difference. The 2 wins can get you through, because even if Amelia Strays beats Rejects tomorrow for their 2nd win, doesn't make a difference. You own the tiebreaker versus them. So, you know, that's the fringing good news overall when it comes down to your potential just to stay safe. But yeah, being on 2 wins is never going to feel great in the group stage going into a knockout bracket where you have to play up against all of the previous teams who just beat you. So some adjustments are going to be needed, but I think just largely looking at how this map series played out, yes, it's a 3-0 for Team War, but there are moments in each of every single one of those maps that you can look back on a GCPW and say, ooh, if we just would have done this, we would have been in a really nice position to maybe even steal a couple of these maps away. You stayed competitive with Team War, save the fact that the results will say otherwise based on the map count.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, just to extrapolate that point a little bit, you know, talk about that knockout bracket and how it looks. You know, we've been talking about the fact that for stage 5, it really does feel like a story of 2 halves, really, for these teams. And the 1st through the 4th team, a very different group of teams to 5th through 8th. Although this is Call of Duty Challengers, I think, you know, if you go in as the bottom 2 seeds into a knockout bracket, you're going to have, I would argue this is the roughest time you are going to have of any Challengers Elite stage this season thus far, just because of the way that everything has kind of turned out so far. But Shift, that's it for us here on the European broadcast. I always enjoy casting everybody. It's always fun. It's rare when it happens on the community broadcast simply because I head up Europe and you head up North America. But yeah, it's been a fun time. I've loved having you here, dude.
It's been a lot of fun, man. It's always a great time to look into this European scene outside of just the spectator point of view, because when we get a chance to like commentate over it, you read things much more in depthly than just essentially the reactive results that you get. So yeah, it's been really fun. I think we've seen a lot of really good stuff from all four of the teams that we had here today, and it'll pan out for a really interesting day tomorrow just to see what the knockout bracket will look like. And what potentially could happen at the top, especially considering the fact that we still have two teams that at the moment are still undefeated.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy tomorrow. I'm so excited to get into it, of course. As I always say with these streams, we are not the only stream covering Call of Duty Challenges, not by a long shot. Of course, there is the official broadcast going on over at youtube.com/COD Challenges. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel, as that is the home for Call of Duty Challenges this season. And that is where all of the official broadcasts will be taking place. Of course, they'll be back at about 1 a.m. BST. I want to say that's like 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm getting good at this. I'm getting really good at conversions here. 8 p.m. Eastern time for North American challenges, and that means we will be too. I don't know who is going to be on broadcast here, Shift, later on for North America.
Seymour and Cruz that'll be taking over North America for us. So
there you go. Well, there you go. Be back here at 8 p.m. Eastern time or 1 a.m. UK time if you fancy yourself a late night one, because it's going to be great. North America. If you think Europe is crazy, trust me, take a look at the North American region. It's going to be great. Be back here at 8 p.m. Eastern time. For now, though, we'll be seeing you.